Behind every highlight reel is a story nobody talks about. This is where we tell it. Violence, chaos, survival, intuition, awakening, you name it, we talk about it.
No filters, no pretending, just the chaos that shaped us. This isn't pretty healing. This is the mess that made us.
Perfect. Hey guys, welcome to the Mess That Made Me podcast, hosted by the Mafia Sisters. I am Daniella, and
Hi everyone, I'm Christina Mafia.
and we started this podcast, Christina. Why? Because we have gone down memory lane so much, and
Yeah,
like
I think memory lane and maybe a lot of us even fighting a little bit because we have a very combative energy with things. So I think that's brought up some more understanding of ourselves, our childhood, what we've been through, how different we are.
yeah. And if you guys know us, anyone that's grown up with us or anything like that, like everyone knows, like Christine and I are very different, but still similar in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? So going down memory lane and realizing like, holy shit, like, is that our child? How are we not on drugs? How are we functioning, capable human beings? I'm sure you feel that way.
Well, how did we get here? And you can see even just from looking at us, we are so different, right? Like different hair, and not that external things are like what matters, but it shows something, right? We're so different in the way we look, right? And the way we
Yeah.
do things. And I think more of the conversations that me and Dale have had, we started to realize like, how did we even grow up in the same household?
Yeah. We obviously there's an age difference. So we have Christina, then we have our brother John, then there's me, and then there's my little brother Christian. And Christina and John, since they were closer in age, they kind of had some similar shared life experiences, and they were kind of thick as thieves. And it's still like this to this day. I mean, we're all different. We all get together. But then you have me and Christian, and we literally lived like two totally different realities growing up in the same house.
Yeah, and I really think that this is why we wanted to talk about a lot of this stuff is because whether you come from a family where you have siblings or whether you come from a family where you're an only child, I think the way we grew up and the things we've gone through when we're younger, whether you view them as really traumatic or really beautiful or easy, I think sometimes we don't realize like how those things have shaped us into who we are and also how they've restricted us from who we really are supposed to be or who we're becoming, you know?
No, 100%, because like it has shaped all points of our lives, relationally, especially, but like how we show up in the world, how we show up for ourselves. You know what I mean? Like we've learned a lot. I mean, I'm 36 now. I have become so many different versions of myself. And this is the version that I think I love the most. And who's to say I'm not going to say that when I'm 60? But it's incredible when you look back and you're like, oh my God, that's why I did things that way. And you have a better understanding, and it helps you go through life. You go through life a little differently when you have this understanding.
Yeah. So I already love what you're saying because I think this is explaining who the podcast is for. It's for those people that have I mean, and I think everyone out there, it's a transition, it's an identity shift. We're going through all these different parts of ourselves and roles we've played. And a lot of that is exciting, but I feel like a lot of it's scary and it can feel very alone at times. And I think that's why me and Danielle really wanted to start this podcast is to have community and connection where you can have like a safe space to go and to know that you're not alone.
Yeah, connection. Because we were talking about this, who's this podcast really for, or what do we want people to get out of this? And we really want connection is the biggest thing, because even though we're in this world of we have social media and everyone's constantly connected, it's not the same. Everyone's actually a little more disconnected than you would think. And we have information at our fingertips. And sometimes that's not the best thing. Social media can be great. I think whatever you do with intention, your intention is what matters. And I think our intention to start this and really be vulnerable about the things that we went through. And let me tell you, it gets dark, guys. These are the conversations that we are not afraid to have. And shit gets dark. There's beautiful times. But let me tell you, we had a very interesting childhood. Christina, do you want to elaborate a little?
Well, I think what you're saying is like we want to bring raw authenticity in a world where we are more, I mean, we have all these connections, but I feel like we are more disconnected than ever from ourselves, from each other. And I feel
Yeah.
like me and Danielle will talk about this a lot. We have a lot of raw conversations. I think that's why me and her argue a lot, because I think that's a good thing, because I think that keeps us authentic, and it's not always comfortable and it's not always fun. But I think for me, I always thought my childhood was super amazing. I think that was just part of the way I coped with things.
Yeah.
And I was more of an internalizer, or kind of maybe bypass certain things. I always tried to be more of the positive type of energy moving through life. And I don't want to speak for Daniela, but I think she handled it a little bit differently. And that's maybe where we're clashing, you know?
No, 100. I mean, going back to like physical differences, right? Like if you look at us, if you hear what Christina's saying, and if you automatically hear me where I'm like, yeah, childhood was fucking dark. Well, look at me with the dark hair and the tattoos. And then you got Christina, who's like the outward expression of like everything was like positive. And everything is like everything is your mindset. It really is. And I'm sure people who knew me growing up, like I feel like I am in the softest version of myself, and anybody who knew the past me probably hears that and like Daniela, like soft version. I don't know about that, you know what I mean? Because oh my goodness. But I agree with you, and I think this social media, I keep bringing it back to social media, but I just mean in general, everybody's so performative.
But bring it up because it's what you just said. Like you literally just went there. You said like, look at us externally, right? And
Yep.
these personas maybe, or these performances we were putting on, but inside, uh, no, I wasn't always positive. In fact, like I remember when I was super positive, I was struggling a lot inside. So I think
Yeah.
you're bringing something up. That's why we're doing this podcast.
And it's so funny because my external expression of everything was always anger, rage, violence. I mean, those, because that's how I controlled everything. But deep inside, I was this soft little mushy, like scared and sad little girl. So my outward expression kept me really safe in my own way, just like your outward expression kept you safe because you had to, I mean, you were the eldest child, you know what I mean? Which I know in its own, you're going to operate differently. And I was in like that middle child, like Christian felt like my son. I was being kind of compared to Christina, like, so it's just such a, when you look at these things, like, it is amazing now how much we're willing to be vulnerable and authentic because I think it's really needed
Yeah.
because everything is so performative.
Well, and you just said something is like we create these personas to be safe, right? So if we don't feel safe in our environment, then we put on these hats or we take these roles, and it doesn't necessarily mean that's what's going on inside.
Right.
And I really feel like that's part of the podcast too, is to share these authentic things, like, and you can feel two ways at the
Yeah.
same time. I mean, you
Good
can have
example.
those two conflicting things. I mean, you
Yep.
can't actually be in those states at the same time, you powerful and primal, but we'll talk about that on another episode. But you can feel that way. You can have conflicting energy. And I think a lot of my life, and I'm sure Daniela felt that way, is like there's a lot of conflict, inner conflict.
Well, and that's the thing, like I don't think people can like I don't think people maybe they don't understand. I don't know if it's a belief. Well, it is a belief system, right? Because everything ends up being a belief. I don't think people understand that you can be all these conflicting parts and you can still integrate them. Like, you know what I mean? Like with both of ourselves, you know what I mean? Like, I know I have so many conflicting parts, but because I accept all of these things about myself, like, you know what I mean? Like, or who knows, maybe I'm just schizophrenic, but I do have all of these conflicting parts, but when I accept them and I kind of integrate them, I operate so differently in the world, you know what I mean? And then I show up better. And I think both of us, even though we've gone down like different paths, we still came to the path of healing. Like
Yeah.
healing, big thing for us. Like obviously you already have built your business, you know what I mean? And everything that I'm trying to do, like at the end of the day, it still comes back to that one thing, like just healing and being authentic because I'm sorry, guys, this might offend some people, but in the spiritual community, I just think there's a lot of like everything's becoming so performative. We have lost a little bit of what this is really about. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I'm ready to get to the nitty gritty of things. I'm not saying anything's bad, but like I'm really ready to get to like the nitty gritty of things and not have everything be so like a perfectly painted picture. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
not It's not, but do you get what I'm
And
saying?
I think that's where you're going is this podcast. That's what we want to bring to it is the nitty gritty and also the parts that we want to bring the light to or the healing part to. I don't even like to say it's funny because I haven't even been using the word healing because kind of what you're saying about the parts and like just acceptance. I don't
Yeah.
like using the word witness. I want to witness myself, witness others. And I think that this is the space for this podcast. We want to make it the space where we're holding space for one another, for you guys out there. If you have comments, questions, topics you want to talk about, I know we're not
Yeah.
afraid to talk about those topics, and we want more people to feel that way. Like we can speak freely and we can be authentic and vulnerable without, I mean, you're always going to be judged. People are always going to judge you. So we want to make this space so that you feel safe.
Yeah. Yeah. And just being able to kind of step into your power and, like show up as you are and be okay with it. You know what I mean? Like, I think we just, as a whole, because so many outward things are constantly being shoved onto us. We lost that sense of who we are. You know what I mean? And I think going back and talking about the little kid in us, that's how we connect back to that. That's truly what I believe. You know what I mean? And so many other things. And I'm already thinking like people I want to get on the podcast to interview. I mean, obviously this is our intro, but
Let's share, Danielle, because Danielle's put a lot of the topics together. Share some of the things we're going to talk about because I think you said childhood. So we're going to be sharing like what real authentic stories of our childhood
so,
and
what'd you say?
real authentic stories of our childhood. And then, you know,
Showing you guys that maybe like what you once saw, like, like not everything's as it seems, but we're going to get into, and there's so many beautiful parts of it. Like there's so much beauty that comes from all of this stuff. For me, it was always chaos and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? But like the incredible things that have come from it and that are going to continue to come from it. But I want to there's like so many incredible people that I know in my life that I already have in my mind, people that my, so yeah, it just, there's a few people I have in mind already that, I want to get on the podcast and I want people to speak their story. Cause eventually, once we talk about all of our stuff, how we have done things, like I want to get other people on here and I want to get them to talk about their stuff because we all just collectively, like we're all on this journey, all of us. We're going through different journeys, we're on different roads, but same. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like
Well,
same.
all of them lead to one destination, right? Which is call it whatever you want, God, source, they all lead to that one destination. And I think this is going to be such a fun podcast.
It is. I
It
think
might
so.
bring up a little bit of emotion. There might be conflict between me and Daniela because we
Yeah,
want it to be raw and authentic. The best
definitely.
the best that, it can be because I think it's what's needed. I know it's for myself, something I'm still working on is showing up more vulnerable, more authentic so that other people can.
Yeah.
And I don't know, with that being said, do we want to share just a brief little bit about us for the people that don't know who we
Yeah,
are?
we can do that. Go ahead, Christina. You take that one away, and then
Okay.
I'll
Uh,
go.
I always say that the thing about me is that the first and foremost is I'm a human being, and that's still something I'm moving through. I like to be doing a lot of things, so that's for me. That really means that these feelings of being enough, of acceptance, of understanding, and that's really what brought me into this life, into this healing journey. And it's something I'm still working on. I don't even like to use the word working because, that'd be a sense of accomplishment, but it's true. I'm still working on those things. And those are definitely things I want to be able to share with this community. The struggles that I've been through and the healing journey I've been on. And I know we're going to do another episode on like what we went through on our spiritual journey. So you're going to hear about that. I'm also a hypnotherapist. I got into that because of my own inner journey. We're going to probably be talking about parts and like subconscious belief stuff. So you're going to hear some about that. I do sound healing and all these things. They were really for my own journey. And then I realized like once I started to use them for myself, I wanted to share them with other people because it was like so incredible, like what it did for me. So yeah, that's really a lot about myself. I have two Pomeranians. You might hear them barking in the background. I love animals. They're just my life, and yeah, I do lots of fun things like retreats and other things, and hopefully in the future, Danielle's going to tell you a little bit about herself, but that's maybe some place that me and her are leading towards too, is doing kind of things like that together. So yeah.
Yeah, and if you do follow Christina on her socials and stuff, you'll get to see all that. I mean, she hosts a lot of excellent events and retreats and everything. So I think too, like definitely share your stuff on here, even though I know we're sharing this on socials, but so people can connect with you because like we want to build that community. But I dear Lord, I went through just my route has been so different. I feel like I've always been two different people in one. But my biggest thing now, I think, like I mentioned before, like I'm at such a point in my life where, you know, getting in touch with like the deepest parts of my feminine self, which I never really cared to get in touch with. You know what I mean? So, um, really, really like showing everyone how, my femininity was kind of forged by brutality and understanding that and understanding how the softer parts of me are where I found my power. And if you know me, I've always been in and out of like doing things like combat sports and it's firearms industry I was real big in. Right now I'm a part of a small private security company, but my big goal is healing with horses and getting people to reconnect back into nature. I think I've been out here. I've traveled a lot. I've been out here in middle of nowhere, Missouri, and I have gotten to live a life that I don't think many people get to experience. And I want to share that with everybody. I want people to get to experience that because when you are out on raw land and you're walking with what I call the herd or the healing herd, I mean, it brings you back to it's remembrance, right? Because I don't think a lot of people get to experience that. And my big goal is to bring that into fruition and get people to come and retreat and live a life that I don't know if they will or ever have gotten to experience. So that's where I'm at. I'm really excited about this podcast. I hope whatever comes of it, I don't know. I hope somebody finds some kind of solace in it. Like I think they will. I think we'll have a lot of laughs, a lot of cries. I think
Yeah.
it'll be a good time.
Yes, I agree. And I'm super excited as well. And I think we're just going to we've got an idea of some things, but we're kind of just going to see where it goes, right?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. I think I'm actually super excited. This feels so natural. Even though what you guys didn't see before this is that Christina and I were like going back and forth, like, blah, 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 like, because we are kind of, at the end of the day, we're both doers in our own way, but we both can kind of chill and go with the flow. But like, what you guys didn't see is that before this, like,
We
I don't
show
know
up in
felt,
different.
yeah, I don't know if you felt the shift, but like the moment I got on here and you and I kind of starting back and forth, I like was able to just relax, like,
The moment we got out of the work, right, the
yeah,
performance, and the moment we started connecting with one another, it became easy.
became about connection rather
Yeah.
than, you know,
And
like,
I think and we both agreed on that in the beginning. That was the one thing we did.
yeah, we knew.
Even
We
though
know
we're
how to
actually both saying exactly the same things in different ways, but the one thing we both agreed on was connection was like our important thing.
yeah, when we got to the bigger why, like this podcast is about, like forks in the road. We've gone our different ways, but back to the same destination.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, but
And we're looking forward to sharing that with you. Those journeys, those struggles, the even, we weren't even in each other's lives for a while. So I think it's going to be very healing, not only for everyone out there, but for us.
I think so too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because, the next podcast episode or two or whatever, I'm going to get to interview my sister and she's going to do the same. And I think we're going to learn a lot about each other.
Yeah.
Even though we're sisters, I think we're going to learn a lot about each other,
That we probably weren't really aware of. Again, talking about that whole like growing up differently, it's perspective, right? Too. So I think
Yeah.
sometimes maybe I know sometimes I don't hear people's perspective because I get stuck in my own and
We've all been there. Yeah.
yeah. So I think that's something too we want to share is like we all have different perspectives and
Yeah.
not right or wrong. It's just about, that
And
connection again.
if anyone knows anything about the Mafia family, we don't change our mind for nobody. Like, listen, I know everyone probably knows Christina in her own way, but once our minds are made up, man, like we don't get me wrong, we're not super rigid, but
No, we're very set in our ways. I would have to say that. I always tell people I just know what I want. I just,
exactly.
I am working on being less resistant though, because I know I tend to do that.
I mean, resistance is just a
But
part of it. human in
Yeah,
general.
and again, extremes of things, it's something I notice about myself,
Yeah,
and I'm learning to love those extremes, but how I can bring them, again, integrate them so that there could be more balance in my life. And I know that that's the people that are going to be watching this probably are people that feel a lot of extremes in their life, and
definitely an extremist. But let me ask you, so kind of shaping the podcast in its own, us kind of having that, like, once our minds are made up, like I said, even though, we do go back and we understand, do you think we are like that now? Because in our childhood, we really, if you think about it, like, a lot of our environment wasn't safe in its own way, and we couldn't control the outside world. Like, we had no control over things. So I think now, like, even when you talk to Christian or,
yeah.
you're all very like, nope, nope, you can't tell me nothing. Like, like, and then we come
You know,
back.
I
Okay.
I think when what you're saying, like when you're little too, and this will be for an episode, is like when you're little, you come in and you actually are fully compassion, fully love, fully acceptance, fully in your power. It's these things in childhood that begin to kind of, I don't
Condition.
know, shrink you almost, right? Like,
They
so
do. They
I
do
think
that.
that's
Sexual
who we
institution.
were, right? I think that's who we were, and then maybe we lost that along the way. It was always there, but I do think that that part of us that is very set in our ways,
Mhm.
I happen to love that part, and I think that,
Love that part.
yeah, I think our mom and dad are very much like that.
Oh,
And when we
wow.
talk about them, I've learned that that's, to some people it might look unhealthy, but that was their way of showing up to love us, and it was so passionate,
Was. So it was like,
so
even though,
chaotic, but so passionate.
yeah, and we'll talk about this. Like, we're going to talk about all this stuff. But one thing I will say about the mafia family is, we might all argue and we might not like each other sometimes. But, if push comes to shove, I think in all of our chaos, like, we're going to show up for each other, like, in the in the chaotic parts.
Yes, I agree. Well,
But,
in chaos, there's also calm, right? That's, I think the thing is, in all these parts that we sometimes look like, when I say, oh, I'm not enough or I'm too chaotic, it's like there's also a beauty in those things. So I think we're going to talk more about that as well. But we're so excited. We look forward to seeing you guys. We even want to connect. So please put a comment. Let us know, like, if there's something you want us to talk about,
yeah,
that you
please.
want us to go into so that we can talk about it. The next episode is going to be, what's the next one, y'all? We're going to talk
Raised
about
by
us,
red
right?
flags. Raised by red flag. We're gonna go into the basics of the family structure.
There's going to be some deep stuff, some little secrets, right? Maybe some things we haven't shared.
We'll definitely mind things, but we're gonna talk about the hard stuff, guys. Like, we're gonna talk about probably what most families will never talk about at a Thanksgiving dinner or whatever.
All right. Well, I'm excited.
I am too. And if you came this far, thank you so much for listening. I really hope, everybody gets something out of this. I hope we get, I really do. I hope for connection and community. 100%.
All
So
right.
thank
Well, it was nice chatting with you.
you too. All right, Christina.
Bye.
Bye.